we'll go a little bit just through what exactly is a game engine and few of the game engines that are out there. So a game engine is really just a platform to build and run a game. There are a lot of engines out there. Some are very general purpose, and others are very specific. Some are intended for larger studios and have support for a lot of different kinds of assets and can be, and then you have things that you'd see on consoles and AAA games. And there's a lot of others that are great for small hobby projects or just prototyping. The two that we will focus on as a club are Unity and Unreal. These are the big ones that you typically hear just get thrown around and compared against each other. Unity, I would say, is probably the easier one to get into. You see it used a lot more often in smaller studios and also just for hobby projects and things. Whereas Unreal is, you see it more in the most recent Kingdom Hearts was made in Unreal, and it tends to focus a lot more on good graphics and being very efficient. It is also, just in my opinion, a little harder to work with, but it's I've started to learn Unreal. I've used more Unity. But then there's also a bunch of others that are fairly popular. Like Godot is completely free and open source and very lightweight. You have CryEngine, which is used to make Crysis, of course. And I think I've never used it, but I think it's also very resource hungry. You also have GameMaker Studio, which was used for, you do see that used fairly often, like Hyperlight Drifter and Undertale were made in GameMaker. And it's GameMaker is more of a 2D game engine, but it's it's nice for smaller teams and projects. Also, I guess I didn't say this before, but when we're talking about Unity and Unreal, these are focused largely on 3D. Unity does have 2D features. I've used that, but if you're working with these, typically you're talking about a 3D game. But beyond these two and a few of these bigger ones, there's a whole bunch of much more specific targeted engines out there. So I've worked with most of actually all of these, at least a little bit sometimes. You have the RPG Maker games, which are obviously making RPGs. You have Twine, which is a little story driven for text-based adventures, and I've actually heard it used even for prototyping narrative for a larger game that isn't a text-based thing, but it's a nice way of handling branching stuff. And then you have Bitsy, which is for making very small, lightweight, little browser adventure games. And it doesn't have a lot of power to it, but you can do some pretty cool things. And I will say that these are, if you take the game development class here at Cal Poly, you will be using both of these at least once. And then there's also others, you could even build your own engine, so that's why I put this here. And then there's some really niche ones, there's Anura, which is a very small 2D engine that's being used it's been developed by 3 or 4 people over a few years, and it's the first one I picked up, and I've had a lot of fun working with it. You probably will never mess with it, but just if you hear anything that's weird and obscure, don't be too surprised. There's far more than we will ever work with. But today, obviously, we'll be using Unity. And for the duration of this semester, we'll be focusing mostly on Unity. If you stick around next semester, we will be focusing more on Unreal. That's generally how we go. We alternate. Okay, so moving on. So when, if you've ever looked at the various parts of the game, you'll see that there's a whole lot of stuff that's going on in there. you have art to display stuff, and sometimes for some games it's models, sometimes it's sprites, and sometimes both. You're going to have a lot of sound effects and a lot of music. There will usually be some kind of writing, whether that's just for voice acting or also plot things or quest or item descriptions or whatever. You need to design interfaces for your menus and things. There's levels that are, you can play in and stuff. And then all this is all being held up by a whole bunch of code. Hopefully it's not spaghetti code, but, and someone is bringing up body tracker for movement. Yeah, so that could be part of the art. Like are you talking like motion capture or like, okay, yeah. Yeah, so often like as part of when you're building the animations, you'll have some kind of, sometimes they'll do motion capture things, other times they'll animate it by hand. And then also even on the player side, if you have like, if I'm building a phone game, I can do the gyro sensors and things like that. There's all this stuff that goes in. For now though, we're just going to focus on working with Unity itself and mostly just like designing a pinball table thing. I'll be showing you all how to make this little simple pinball game. But this isn't going to be necessarily like a canned game. This is like a very simple layout I made, but using this stuff here, you'll be able to also take, you'll be able to say like, take this flipper and then have another copy up here. So if you've seen like in some pinball tables, you have multiple flippers at once, and then like you'll be able to set up walls, and if we have time, we'll also do like scoring and things like this. And right now what I'm showing you here is this is running in the browser, and so you'll be able to set this up and then share the link with other people if you feel so inclined to do so. So this is, I've intentionally kept this really minimal though. You could definitely, like if you worked with Unity previously, I encourage you as we're going, spruce it up and try to do things like make lights that flash when the ball hits the bumpers, and like scoring system, and there's a whole bunch of things you could do with it. But we'll be just building out bare minimum, and then you'll be able to customize it to do whatever you want to do with it. So then from there, what we will do is what we're going to want to do is in Unity Hub, you can, once you have a version of Unity installed, you can click the new button up here, and then we can make we can just call this pinball or whatever you want to call it. And we'll just go with the default 3D setting, because again, this is just going to be a 3D game that is going to rely on the game's or Unity's physics, so to make things easier to do. So with all this, it's good. And once you have the location, go ahead and click create, and then it will start doing stuff. Let's see. So Unity has, when Unity first opens, it has a few different parts to the interface. That the first one in the middle, this is your scene view. This is what you can use to this is where it'll actually show the level itself. You have over here your hierarchy. This is like objects in the scene. And then you have here the inspector. So like if I select something, well, this is where all the settings get shown. So I can actually see that. Let's do one thing at a time. First, just for reference, right-click over on the hierarchy, and then you create, and then, or go down to 3D object, and we'll just make a cube. And this way, we just have something in our scene just to look at and mess with. So first thing that's important, so you can use the right mouse button to move the, rotate the camera around. And say like, if I want to focus on this cube that I have selected, I can like if I highlight the cube, you can click F to focus on it, and that puts it in the center of the camera. So then I can, that way you can look at whatever it is that you are trying to deal with. Now, if I hold down Alt and then right click, let's see, no, what was it? Okay. Yes. And then if I hold down Alt, this, and it will change it to like this little eye icon. And then from there you can left click drag to like orbit around the object you have selected. And then if I do, let's see, I think it was Control Alt, then you get this pan. So then I can, you know, move around at a whole bunch of items and look at them. And if you ever forget any of this, there is a, well, for one thing, Nandan is putting it down in the chat. Also, after this workshop, I'm going to be updating the slides with the controls themselves, and there will also be a, there's also a site or a page on the Unity documentation that describes all these controls and things. So now that we have, so we can mess with the camera to look at things, but to actually, like, to change things, we have a couple of options. So right now we have these arrows over the object, and if you don't see the arrows, like if it's not selected, you can just click on it to make them show up. You can use these arrows to move things around. You can on like the plane between the arrows to move it along a plane, so move it along the flat surface. And another thing you can also do is you can just put in numbers here. One, you know, I can move it around that way. We'll be using that a bit. But aside from moving things around, you can also go up here. If you click on the rotate tool, you can rotate objects around, and you can also scale.
I think you can use the numbers 1 to 5, right, or something like that.
So yeah. It's QWER, like the numbers below the letters below. So it is these. It's just the QWERTY keys as like shortcuts. I never think to use them, but they're handy. I guess also one other thing that probably goes without saying, if I move this around and don't like it, I can hit Control-Z to undo. That's what I've been doing when I'm messing with things. Okay, so we can move things around, we can rotate them, we can also scale them, which is, we're going to be using that a fair amount when we actually start building our level. And then there's one other tool that isn't too important right now, but it's handy. You have like this rectangle tool where you can like take parts of it and stretch it and stuff. And this is great for you, designed more for like messing with things. It's just, you have a variety of tools to work with up here. Oh, and a couple other things. So we did it before when we made the cube. You can right click on over in the hierarchy to make things. So we have a few different options, like there's cubes, we have spheres, which, you know, it's a sphere, and there's various shapes, and we're going to be using these to build out our level. We aren't going to be using any fancy models. Let's see. If we want to copy an object for any reason, you can right click on it and then click duplicate, and that will make a second one. Alternatively, with it selected, you can do Control-D again for duplicate, and that will get you another object. And then with an object selected, I can hit delete on the keyboard, or I can right click on it and then just click delete. And so that is the basics of just working with objects and stuff. How's everyone doing? From here, we're going to start actually putting together our pinball table. So anyone have any questions before we go on to that? I'm going to assume nope. Let's see.
Just so that you guys remember something, by the way, this all happens in the scene view. So if something's wrong, like I made this mistake when I was first starting out. I was sometimes in the game view, which is
yeah. Sorry, go on.
And so I was like, why isn't anything like working, or why is everything like not reacting to what I'm doing? And it just make sure you're on the scene tab so that everything's working out. And this is more, I guess, of a problem in 2D than 3D, because in 3D, I guess the camera might be in a different angle or something like that. But in 2D, there's only like one general angle the camera's in. So I guess that's usually more of a problem, but just something to keep in mind, that the scene tab is the tab you want to be on when you want to edit things.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm not gonna, you don't have to mess with this, but one thing I usually tend to do is have like, I'll take the game view and put it over in a second. Like you can take these tabs and move them around however you want. If you work with Unity much, I encourage you to mess around with your layout and find something that works for you. For now, I'm gonna stick with the default, but that is like, if that keeps happening to you, you can mess with that. Okay, so now making sure I'm in the scene view and not the game view, we can go ahead and start creating our level. So I'm going to go over here, create a cube. I will name this floor. And I'm going to see. You're going to want to center this, so I'm going to take each of these and set them to 0. And I guess before I go on too much, I will say right at the moment, this is all going to be pretty, I guess I'll call it like a canned game at the moment, just like setting up stuff. But once we have the basics set up, feel free to mess with things and like make it bigger or make it smaller, whatever you want to do. But for now, we're just going to set up like a basic layout. So for the floor, I'm going to put this down here. So for the floor, I set it to, this is 10, 5, and 17. So setting it to these values, 10, 0.5, and 17, will get us this nice, big, flat surface for us to have our playfield in. And then we will create a left and right walls, which will be another cube. And this one will be, position will be 5.5, 0.5, 0. And then the scale will be, cannot see that, thanks Google. The scale will be 2 and 17. Over here. So that will get us a wall. And I could go and do the same thing with the right wall. What I'm going to do instead is I'm going to click it. So have it selected. I'm going to do Control D to duplicate it. And then I'm going to negate. So instead of 5.5, it will be negative 5.5. And so now we'll have our left and right walls. So this one here is our left. I'll go ahead and name these so that we can tell what they are, mostly just to be organized. So that's our left and right walls. And then we will, oh wait, I think I'm missing something. Oh yeah, that's a good point. For some reason it was moving things around and I don't like it when it does that. I'm also going to go ahead and make an upper wall. Let's see, I'll just make this for you. So I'll make another cube. I will set this to, let's see. So position is 2, or Y is 2, and then the rest of these are, okay, that's not, oh, I'm missing, okay, never mind. This is not the that wall. We're not going to do that yet.
Are the slides shared with everyone?
Yes, so the slides, and they're on the Discord, and also the, so like, only this earlier stuff is in there. I'm still need to put in the rest of it, but let's see, someone's asking for position. Yes, yeah, what Nandan was talking about was for position. That was more a problem on my end, but yeah, just, yeah, so I don't have the settings for the upper wall. So I'm going to go ahead and just take my cube and I'm going to drag it over here because I don't remember what it was set to. So when you're dragging, you can hold down Control to make it snap to a grid. So that's how I get it lined up nicely. And then with it here, I'm going to switch over to my scaling tool and then scale it up until it is about the right size. And then let's see. One thing I forgot to say, when you're holding down the right mouse button, you can use WASD to move the camera around. It's a very nice little fly around view. And so I'm going to go ahead and I could scale this and make it line up correctly, but then you see it's, well, actually that's fine. We'll just live with that. No one's going to see this because the camera's going to be looking at it like this. So now we have our basic walls set up. At the moment, it looks really boring, just all flat white. So let's go fix that. This is not something we need to copy exactly. This is just the settings for us to, if you want to refer to it. I'm just going to show you how to make the materials, and then you can choose whatever color you want. So down in our project, so we've mostly been working with this upper half of the screen. Down the lower half, you have your project, and this has all of your files that you've made for the game so far. So I'm going to go ahead and create a folder just to keep organized. And we will call this materials. And so we will put all of our, all the stuff that we use to customize how things look, it will go in here. So once we're in this folder, we'll right click, do create, and then material. And this will be, we'll call this 4. So when I made it before, I used like dull blue, something like that. And right, I should explain what I'm doing. So when you make a new material, I'll go ahead and make a new one. And I'll name this one wall, I'll use this for the wall. You have a whole bunch of things over here that you can set. You don't need to worry about most of these. For what we're doing here, you just want to worry about this color at the top. When you click it, you get this color picker, and then you can set it to whatever whatever color you want. You can just choose something, and it's just a nice little interface. So I'll make this a lighter blue, kind of like I was doing before. And then once you have your materials down here, all you need to do to apply it to an object is you can just drag it onto it.
Wait, so once you're in the folder, you do what? You create?
So once you're in the folder, you right click and then you can do create and then material. Sorry, I guess maybe I was going a little fast. You do create and then down in the middle, it's kind of annoyingly buried. It's just material. And then you can give it whatever name you want. In this case, I'm making one for the floor and one for the walls. Let's see. We can go through doing the materials again. I'm going to go ahead and delete these. So what I did, actually, let me just start scratch here. Well, okay. It won't look like this for you, hopefully. So in your project view down here, yeah, I guess right now what it has no material. Let me give it like, well, so now this is how it will look for you. What you do then is you, down here in your project view where you have your files, you right click and then you can do create, and we're going to go ahead and make a folder to keep everything, all of our materials contained in them. So click on folder, I will name this materials. And then I'll double click on the folder just to go in, and now we'll see there's nothing there because we just made the folder. So then to create the material, you right click again and then go up to this create menu, and then material is right, like kind of in the middle. One thing that's kind of handy is with this highlighted, you can just start. I know at some point, and this might just be a Mac thing, since I know I did this all the time when I was on my Mac. I think you can type the thing that you want to make and it will do it, but we're just going to click on it. So when you click on it, we'll make one for our floor first. So we'll name it floor. And then we're going to see this big set of stuff here. We don't need to worry about most of this because again, like materials are a big part of making something look good. But we don't care about any of that. We just want this color here, this albedo color. So you click on it, and then you get this color picker, this color picker wheel thing. I personally like sort of like a bluish gray color, something relatively dull. So everything, you know, the rest of your objects will be kind of light and easy to see. So, so then you can, once we have a color chosen, you can just close the window. And then, so once we have the floor material set up, you can just drag it onto the object that you want to put it on. And then now you have a colored floor. And so we can do it again. We can make a new material. We'll do a wall this time. And then just like before, I'm going to click on the color. And this time I'm going to do again, like a blue, but more like a lighter blue kind of.
So for those of you that are ahead, you can design this with more cubes and even spheres if you want to look cool, add more colors. Like this is just like, we're doing this for the basic stuff, but if anyone like knows, or even if they're just learning now, but they got the point of it, you can add more like fancy looks to this, basically.
Yeah, you can go ahead and start. Like at the moment, I'm just going to be going through like the base objects, but like especially with this upper half, everything in this upper half of the table, at least with what I've done, there's nothing in there. So that's going to be the main space where you can add in your own stuff. Let's see. Okay, so I've gone ahead and also done a wall material. Next thing I'm going to go ahead and do, because, well, I guess, yeah, we'll get to. So next thing from here is we will actually go ahead and do the ball now. Right now I only have. Yeah, we can have as many materials as you want. So like if you want to give each of these walls their own material, you can have you can go ahead and do that. My final version of the project, let me see. I have 7 materials, but you know, the number of materials we're going to have in the final is fuck you. Oh, making the tree actually put a tree in my project. Okay. Interesting to know. I'm going to go ahead and delete those because I don't want the tree. Oh, yeah. Yeah, once I made the wall material, I had to drag it to each one. You can have the same material on all of them. And then the nice thing about that is since they're all the same material, you can change it later. So like if I want it more of a green color, I can do that. Or like a yellow, whatever I want to do. It's all tied to the one same material now. So they all are going to look the same. Okay, so I think since we're all pretty good at this point, let's go ahead and make our little metal ball that will go around. So I'm gonna right click, I made a sphere, and then I'm going to, its exact position doesn't matter. I'm just going to go ahead and zero it out and then drag it up like here, something above the, something above, and like put it over here. So at the moment, this is a fairly boring looking ball. Let me back over here. Okay, so the main thing we want to do, if I go ahead and enter play mode, so that's this button up here. This is what simulates running your game. If I click this, it's gonna load. So we're gonna, first off, this camera isn't great. We'll fix that later. But we'll see our ball off in the distance is just floating there. We want to make it so that it falls and, you know, behaves like a physical object. So to do that, well, first I'm going to minimize these because they're in the way. So to give a ball, or like to give an object physics, you can, with the ball selected, you, over here at the bottom of your inspector, there'll be an add component button. If you click that, we get this big old list of components. We don't need to worry about all these. Like you could dig around and find what you're looking for. I'm just going to type rigid body. And with that search, you'll get these options. Since we're not doing a 2D game, so we won't do rigid body 2D. We're just going to do rigid body. And then with that, we'll have this extra component. This is what gives, this gives the object physics. So now if I go play with that attached, it was kind of hard to see. Let me pull this way up. You don't have to pull it up. I'm just, see, so now we can see it, watch it fall and stuff. Okay, so someone says it didn't work. Did it not, what didn't work for you? Did it not fall? Yeah, I'll do it again. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove this. So I made a sphere. Actually, let me just start from the beginning. I'm gonna right click and make a sphere. And so at the moment, this is just gonna be an empty, regular sphere without any physics. So with the sphere selected, you click add component and then you search for rigid body. It's all one word. And then you just click and that will add a rigid body component to it. And this should be all that's needed. Like we're gonna tinker with this in a minute, but for now, that should make it, fall, act like a ball. Okay, cool. How about, so one of the two people who was asking about it is good. How about the other person? And I would say your name, except this is all recorded, so unless you don't mind your name being immortalized on YouTube forever. What do you click after you make the screen red? Oh, so when you click on so making the screen red, that means it's in play mode. So when you click up here, that's what plays your game. Oops. So if you click it once, then it will enter play mode, and then if you click it again, it will leave play mode.
The screen can be set to be red. It's not red by default.
Well,
I'm not sure about Unity 2020, but
yeah, I think Unity 2020 is red by default. If you have a different version of Unity, it will just darken the screen instead of make it red. But yeah, the screen is supposed to be red.
There is a way to change it.
Yeah. If anyone really wants to know how to change it, I can show you later. But for now, red is fine.
Oh, he has 2020 and it's black for him, supposedly.
Yeah, if you are in any, like, dark mode was something that you used to have to pay for. As of 2020, it's now free. So by default, it's not going to be dark mode. If you're working on older versions, it's all lighter, but it's fine. One thing I should warn you about, if I enter play mode, so now it's going to be this dark red, I could go back to the scene mode and start to change things. I'm just going to like yeet this out of the way, like do all this stuff. So, but I'm still in play mode. The game is still technically running. Now, if I go and stop play mode, it's going to reset back to how it was before. Now, this is good in the sense that what changes while a game, like the ball moving around, it resets when you stop playing. Where it's a problem though is if you're making changes and then you realize you were in play mode, nothing gets saved, and you're really sad if you've been working for like 30 minutes and it's been in play mode. So generally, if you see the screen dark red like this, you're in play mode. Don't change things unless you know what you're doing. Make sure you click on the play button again to leave play mode.
That's why it's a good idea if you mess up like that frequently to get the color changed. You could probably do it with a Google search. It'll be pretty straightforward, like how to change the color in play mode, Unity, or something like that. And I'm pretty sure
the topic.
Yeah, it's probably in preferences.
Edit preferences, and then let's see, colors, and then you can do this is play mode tint. So like if I want something a green, because usually I use like green instead, then play it. Now it's green. So it's just edit preferences, and then colors, and then it's just this play mode tint. But this isn't too important. We aren't really, that you can just pick a color that's, obvious, and then you won't miss it. Okay, where's everybody at? Before we were getting the ball to fall, is it falling for everyone now? Okay. Cool. So on the topic of rigid bodies and, or giving this thing a rigid body, I will say that is what this inspector we're looking at is the components of the game object, because each of these things here are called game objects, and all that is it's just a collection of components, a collection of things. So like on the sphere, I have a mesh renderer. If I uncheck that, you can't see the sphere anymore. So basically, when you're building out your game, you're just attaching these components to things to give them behaviors and properties, and so they can see them and all sorts of, and then like if you get into sounds, you can attach like a sound object and things like that. It's just kind of like you're building stuff by just putting these things together. Anyway, though, back to this. While we're busy messing with this ball, one thing we're going to want to do is, I believe it was, yes, we want to make the ball be down here, there's this collision detection feature or option. We'll want to choose continuous dynamic. This is not something you normally need to worry about, but when I was testing it, I was getting issues with it misbehaving. So this just tells it, well, you can look up exactly what this does. Just for now, we need it for this. So just take that, or make sure that's set. And then for angular drag, we also want to make this 0. This way, when the ball is rolling around, it's not going to start slowing down. It makes it just feel a little nicer. But this is like a little bit of just setup. But with that, then the other thing we need for the ball is right now it's going to be, it again looks really boring. So while we should still have the material tab open, if you don't for some reason, you can you go back to the folder. We're going to make a new material. So let's do create and then material. And we'll name this ball. And this time, though, we're going to do something a little bit different. Let me see what I have sent. Okay. So what we want is we want to make the ball look nice and like a steel ball bearing kind of thing. So we could try to choose a grayish color and get it to look, kind of metallic. What we'd rather have, though, is have it look shiny. So to do that, there's this metallic thing. If you click on the little dial next to it, it'll open up this window of textures. And we do need to do this before to get it to look good. So once you have this window open, you just double click on default checker. And then with that clicked, you'll see in the preview down here, it now looks you get this very shiny kind of metallic feel. So with the ball looking like that, you can then just drag it onto the ball. And then you should get this nice shiny. Is this working for everyone so far? So that does look a little weird. Oh no, that's fine. Okay. Let's see. So now if I play it, you should get this. It's a marble thing. Yeah, I can run through it again. There are 2 default checkers. Either is fine. Let me actually try the other one. Either is fine. Oh yeah, this gets. It's kind of up to personal preference. I kind of prefer the left one, but they have different. This one you see the pattern more. Yeah, I'll run through it again. So let me delete this. So I'll create a new material, just like before. When we're doing when we're doing walls and floors, and then do ball as our material name. And then with the ball material selected, I'll click on, there's this little circle next to the metallic option. I'll click that, and then I will just double click on either one of these. I'll use the left one, but you can always click on it again and tweak it, choose whichever you want. And then you'll see this preview update accordingly. And then once you have that set up, you can just drag and drop our ball material onto our sphere, and then you have a ball. Is this working for everybody so far? Okay, cool. So still though, the problem is if we enter play mode, we'll see the ball will just, our now nice shiny ball, it will just fall and sit there. So let's fix that. So what we are going to want to do is let's see. Okay, so the one thing we could do, like what we want to do is we want to have this floor be sloping, and don't do this yet. Don't copy what I'm doing. I'm just going to show you something. When I could just rotate this, but then you see nothing else is rotating. So like I could try to rotate everything and make it match and stuff, make it all line up. Okay, thanks for coming. Sorry, this is taking a little. Sorry, and so for everyone who's sticking with us, sorry if this is a little slow. it will get more interesting soon. But yeah, thank you for coming, and for the person who has to leave. That's all right. Let's see. So I could just rotate each of these things, but then the problem is, it's not lined up, so I have to go do that. And it's a big pain. So I'm gonna not do any of that. Instead, what I can do, I'm gonna right-click over in the hierarchy and do create empty. So just kind of like how I was saying before, game objects are just like collections of things. So this is just an empty object. Doesn't have anything in the scene. And then once we have our empty in there, we're going to want to make sure everything here is 0. So I'm going to do that because it does need to be centered for this to work. And then what we're going to do is take everything. So click on floor, and then if you shift click on the sphere, it will select everything here. And then we're going to drag and drop all of that onto our new game object. Is everybody following along? Is this? Yeah, you can also drag and drop one at a time. I can just do yoink, yoink, yoink. But just selecting everything at once is more convenient, and you can do that. So then once you have everything attached to this game object, then we can just rotate everything and it will work the way we want it to. Yes, but you do have to make sure you select it to the base game object that everything is a child of. Like what we just doing this is we're making this game object the parent, and then the rest of our level is now the child, or now children of our parent game object. So once you have the parent selected, you can rotate the entire level. So like if I set this to -20 and then play, now the ball will roll down the way we want, way we would expect for a pinball table. And I guess I'll also go ahead and name this. Okay. Is everybody how's everybody doing? Did parenting stuff, did that work for you, or let me close Steam? Okay, we got one person. We got 2. Okay, seems like generally people are good. One more thing I'm going to go ahead and do. Okay. Let's see. One more thing I'm going to do. So to make, one thing I can do is like I could just for demonstration purposes, I can make another object and drag it onto this to make it a new object, a child. But if we want to make an object a child from the get-go, you can right-click on the object that will be the parent and then create the new object that way. And the new one is the parent, or the new object will be the child automatically. So, okay, actually I'm going to do that. So we're going to right-click on level, we're going to make a new child object, and we will just name this bounds, or boundary, I guess. The exact name doesn't matter. And what we're doing here is just organizing things. So I'm going to take, again, our walls. We're not going to include the sphere in this. I'm just going to select these and put it in our boundary object. And the main reason for doing all of this is just that everything is nice and organized. It's kind of like, making folders. You you keep everything in one place, and then we can minimize this, and then that way we don't need to worry about, or because we're not going to be messing with this boundary much now that we have it set up, so we can just tuck it away in our little object, and it'll be good. So with that, then it should currently we have it looking like this. So, I mean, what you can do is say, like, I can move everything below, but what you want to do is you want to drag it onto, like, so that it has the boundary highlighted. And then that will make it apparent. That will make the boundary the parent, and then all of our floor and walls. Yeah, I'll move all of them into the boundary object. And then that way, don't include the sphere. What I'm doing is I'm making boundary be a child of the level. So we have our level, and then inside that we have sphere and boundary, and inside boundary we have walls. This is because we're going to be putting more stuff inside our level, and like we're going to have a bumpers object and then a flippers object and things, or like, I guess instead of calling it objects, we're going to have like a bumpers folder and a flippers folder and like just folders for things. It's gonna, just to keep everything organized so that we don't have, otherwise we have this big long list of things. Yeah, and again, like also with, I could do, in addition to just being a folder, I could do stuff like this. Don't actually mess with that. It's like, it's a thing that you can do. So in boundary, move only floor, wall 1, wall 2, and back wall. Yes. That is correct. And then that way, once you have all that done, you can just click on the little drop down arrow. Yeah, I mean, if you want to rename this to something else, like just, I don't know, walls or edges, and this is edges. You could rename it to whatever you want. Like if boundaries is too long, or just, you'd rather give it a name you prefer, you can go ahead. This is purely just for ourselves, just to keep it easy, more manageable. Okay, and one other thing before I pause to make sure everyone's keeping up. If we enter play mode again, we'll see that everything is going to kind of look, this doesn't look very great. So what controls the way that you can see like when you enter play mode, you see everything out of this camera. So to change what you're looking at, you change the camera. So like if you see this preview down here, I can moving the camera around will change the preview. So I think let's see, not that. Okay, so I've set it to this, so 10, and then 50. Yes. So with the camera, just with the camera selected, I set Y to be 50. Or no, not 50. I set the Y position to be 10, and the X rotation to be 50. And then that way, now if we go and enter play mode, we're going to get this nice overhead view. Wait, this feels a little strange. This right? Oh. Strange. I think it's cutting it off a little bit. So for the camera, where the scale I left alone, and I haven't touched any of this, we can just close this. I'm going to it could be. I'm going to try to lift it up to 11. There, that looks a little better. And this is like the very bottom edge. It does cut off in the original version I was doing was the, it's intentionally kind of hidden. And we're just going to set it so that the flippers are, are at the bottom of the screen and things all just rolls off. Okay, how's everyone doing? Do you have the, is everything in our hierarchy organized, and is the camera set up? Yeah, you can adjust the camera however you want. This is more, think of this more as a suggestion. If you want to, you can rotate it however you want. You can move it around, and you have this little preview to give you a guide of what you're trying to do, or give you a guide for to make it easier to line up. Okay, well, how's everybody doing? You see the coordinates for the ball again. So for the ball, it doesn't really matter too much. I just, like, you can see up here, it's just this random stuff. You can just move it around to wherever you want it, just as long as it's above the play field. Anything like that will be good. Because again, the ball is going to be moving all the time, so it doesn't really matter where it starts. I guess this is also a good time to talk about something else. So right now, when I move this around, it's moving around in relative to 3D space. But the problem is, what if I want to just move it up and down the table? So to do that, up here there's this button that says global. If you click it, it will toggle between global and local. So with it set to local, now I can just move it and it will stay the same distance from the table. And that will make it easier to get it wherever you want without changing how far off it is from the table. Then I can move it relative to the table. So again, that's just this button up here, toggle between global and local. And so I'm going to leave it in local mode because for what we're going to be messing with next is we're going to be adding in some walls, and it's much easier to mess with those while we're in local mode. Okay, so if everybody's good, then I'm going to go on to well, I called them rails, you can call them walls. So again, this time I'm going to go ahead and minimize edges, and then right click on level and then create another empty. Let us call this, we'll just call this walls, I guess. What's a little, we'll just call it walls, that's fine. And then we will make a new empty, or not empty. We'll right click on walls and then create a cube. Now you'll see we have this nice cube that's in our little play field. So this is what I essentially did was create, well, I'll just go ahead and punch in these values. So I will go through and do 4. So I guess we'll be doing the right rail first. And so these values were things that I just, after some experimenting, felt right. Let's see. So it's 4.5 in the X position, -2 for Z position, 45 for Y rotation, and then scale is 1 to 2.5. And that will be our upper right. I'll continue to call it rails. Because these are like the things that funnel the ball down into the center of the particular. And then I could make a new cube. What I'm going to do instead is I'm just going to duplicate this. So I'll select it and then Control D. And this will just be our lower right. It's our lower right rail. And that will be, these positions are a little weird. So this is 3.11 for X, and then -5, 5.5, and then our rotation is 20. And then this is 2. So and this will get us a sort of like funnel effect. So if the ball rolls down, it will kind of be routed towards the center, and then you also have this kind of like area. And then our flipper will go right here beneath this once that's done. And so I will go ahead and duplicate both of these. So then I'll duplicate first the upper one. This will be our upper left rail. And this one, I'm just going to do negate X and then negate the rotation 2. And that is our rail. And finally, one more rail. And that's strange. This is 3.11. 5.5. It's not 55. -5.5. And then there's 20. And this scale is 2. Okay. So that will set up this kind of like funnel kind of setup. Yeah, I'll go ahead and leave these up on the screen for reference. Okay. So just let me know when you all are ready to move on, or if you have any questions.
This might also be a good time to have like a short, bathroom break or something like that.
That's a good idea. Yeah. Yeah, we've been going at it for, it's been an hour and a half.
So, I mean, if you want, you can pause the recording or,
Yeah, I'll go ahead and do that. Resume recording. There we go. Now we're recording again. All right, is everybody ready then? Who's still with us, by the way? At least in terms of people here who are following along. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So next thing to do then is we are going to make the flippers. Like we're done with the base setup. We can finally start doing the more interesting things of making something that we can actually play and interact with. So first off, how do I? Well, yeah, let's go ahead and get our scripts in here. So over here, you're probably on the folder or in the materials folder. But you have this like view of your project over here. If you click on assets, that will take you back to the base folder of your project. So from here, we're going to right click, we're going to create, and then do folder, and this will just be scripts. So all of our scripts we're going to dump in here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this in the chat. So if you can go in there, let me make a. So you're going to see something like this. And then I will do, we're going to want the flipper. So clicking on this will get us a bunch of code. We could either download this or copy it. I'm going to download it. So let's see. I guess I should ask. So when you made the project, do you all know how to get to where you saved it? Hey Celine. Do you know where? Let's see. Well, let's try something. This is a little tricky because I know some of you don't have Visual Studio installed, so I'm not exactly sure what will happen when we do this. But if in the scripts folder, if we right click on create and do C# script,
Actually,
it will.
sorry, there might be like a way to do this. So if they just download the scripts in their downloads folder, they can just drag it from the downloads folder into Unity.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That would be very nice. So then let's try that. So you should just be able to click the little download button on the script and save it. And I'll just put it on my desktop. And then let me go to my desktop. So wherever you download it in your scripts or in your downloads folder, or your desktop, or wherever, have it open in a folder. Go back into Unity, and then you should just be able to drag and drop it into your scripts folder. And there we go. That worked. Thank you, Nandan. That simplifies us a lot. Let's see to make sure it worked. Yeah, so when you click on it, you'll see the contents of the script. Again, we're not going to go into the details of this. Feel free to ask me later if you are curious, and I can try to explain it. Some of it was, especially for this flipper, took a bit of experimentation to just like find something that worked. So I think I understand well enough of how my own code works, but it works. So that'll be our flipper code. So so now let's go ahead and make one of our flippers, and then once we have it made, we'll duplicate it, and then we can to get our second one. So with the level selected, right click on that, and then do create empty. Oh yeah, that's a good point. I should ask. So is the script thing working? Do you guys have it in the project? And when you put it in, did it give you any grief? Okay, sounds like generally it's working. So that's good. So with this script, now we're ready to actually make a flipper and attach this to it so that it will do the flipping. Or maybe I should be calling them paddles, but I don't know. When did I create the other two walls? What other two walls? these. Okay, so this was before when I was on this slide. I had made these four cubes, and then gave them these properties. If you need a moment to make these and catch up, then we can pause for a minute. I'll just leave this.
I mean, we'll probably put this up too later.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I mean, these slides are also in that Google Drive folder I shared. I also have the outline and the slides. I will say I only had time to actually make all the slides for the first part that we've gone through, though after this, a lot less of it is busy work and more of it is just stuff we can customize. So that's not too big of a deal. But, let's see, just how are you doing? Are you working on it, or is it stock? Or any questions? Okay, great. So with all this set up, let's see. I'm going to go ahead and back up a little bit. So if you haven't already, go ahead and right-click on the level, and then we'll create another empty, and we will name this first. And so we will contain our flipper objects in here. Also, if you haven't been doing this already, now is probably a good time to go ahead and save. You can do Control S to save, or File, Save. I've been kind of saving just kind of periodically out of habit. I forgot to say anything about it earlier, but I don't believe Unity autosaves. So you want to make sure to save sometimes. Anyway, with our flippers object created, we are going to want to make a, with flippers highlighted, we will want to create another empty. We will call this, just flipper, I guess, for now. We will make, so we're going to make a generic flipper first, and then we will make left and right flippers out of that. So for now, it's just going to be this thing. So to make it easier, going back in the other project, so I have the flippers looking something like this. So we're going to go try to recreate something like this. So right click on the flipper, and then we will create a 3D object, do a cylinder. So that is going to be fairly tall for what we want. So we will want to scale this, I believe, down to 1.5. All right. Yes. So I did that. And then I'm going to go ahead and select the flipper and then drag it up, just so it's not buried in there. You're going to make sure the flipper is selected, not the cylinder. I should probably verify that, because the cylinder needs to stay centered. So I'll right-click on the flipper again, and then create a cube. And so this time I'm going to let us drag this out so it will be like here roughly. So I'm holding down Control and just dragging it. And then I will, with the scale tool selected, I will hold Control. Oh, shoot. That's not what I wanted. Okay, I'm going to just take Z and then do 0.5. And that will get us this kind of like lever thing. And we'll want to also make this longer. And let's move it out a little bit. I think that should be good. Curious, what did I do here? So same. Yeah, not the same. Okay, sorry. There's some amount of there was just like trying to fiddle around with it. Is everyone good so far? Okay, thanks for dropping by. All right, for everyone who is still with us, how is this looking? I did go a little bit fast there, so if you want me to go back through that and step through it again, I can. Okay, one person is good. Over to this. Okay, seems to be good so far. How did you get the flipper to be angled same as before? Okay, so I have the I did talk about this a little bit before. If you, well, I guess I should ask this first. When you have it selected, does it, how do your arrows line up? Are they lined up with the floor so then you can drag it along like this? Or do they look more like this? So then when you drag it, it does this. Because if it's like this, then you want to switch to local. It's just this button up here that lets you toggle that. So we want to be set to local because, we want to have everything oriented relative to the floor. So then that way though, then we can have the flipper, like all this stuff is that I haven't had to rotate it at all. It just lined up. So then, you can, but it's important everything is a child of this level object because, we can rotate this. Everything rotates with it. My lighting settings are off. Default whites are showing up as a light gray. It's possible you might have. No, not that. I'm not really sure. Let's see, the breakout room setup. Nandan, are you there? Do you want to hop in the breakout room? Because I'm not really sure what would be causing that. Oh, okay. Everyone's been invited to join the thing. I did not mean to do that. Just say no. Oh, weird. Okay. Well, this should be an option. Let's see, let me do. Okay, so they're in the breakout room. Subpanel. Yeah, so the nice thing about once everything's set up like this, like if we go to rotate, then we'll just rotate the thing like around. And so it will be most like to actually get this to work in code is a little more complicated than I would like it to be, but essentially this is what it's going to be doing. You know, we can. Let's see. Let me check. I guess while they're, I don't want to hold up too long. I guess what we'll do in the meantime while we're waiting for them to finish, I'm going to go ahead and make a material for our flippers. So you can. Okay. While okay, sorry about that. So while they're busy getting their issue resolved, we're going to go ahead and give this thing its own material, just kind of like we were doing before. Just to keep things simple, we'll give both objects the same material. So if like before you were in the scripts folder, you can get to the materials folder over here. So just click there and then you'll be in there. So then just like we were doing before, we'll do right click, create the material. And we'll call this flipper. And then I made this like a red color, but you can do whatever you want to do with it. So I'm not messing with metallic this time or any of that. I'm just changing the color. And then with this material, I'm going to just drag and drop it. And we have a red flipper. There we go. Okay, that's fine. And I guess we can also go ahead and get this in position too. I don't remember what position I set up for it. Okay, so that's reasonable. So negative 2.5. So I set this to negative 2.5, and then maybe 7. Oh, and that was 20. Something like that. Like here's a weird. What did I do with that? Oh, okay. So then this was just 3.9. Okay, so then with the on the base flipper, not on the cylinder or the cube, the base flipper, we'll just use this. Will be our left flip now. I'll just do that. So I'm changing this to be called left flipper. So with our left flipper selected, then you can give it these transforms and you'll get it. It will line up pretty nicely here. And then we can start making it move pretty soon. But I do want to wait for double click something and everything disappeared, not erased. Just can see it. How do I undo that? So I'm assuming Control Z didn't do anything. That's strange. Let's see. I don't think I can make another room. Breakout rooms are strange. The elements get disabled. That's a good. Yeah, that actually could happen. So like if there's this check mark next to the name when I have something selected, you can, if you click it, we'll just make things vanish. So that toggles whether things are enabled. Disabled things are hidden. We aren't messing with that for this, I haven't brought it up because we haven't needed to mess with it. But if anything is just vanishing, that could be, check that. It will be grayed out in the hierarchy if it's disabled. And if you do want to share your, okay, everything's checked. So, I'm going to stop recording and I will let you share your screen. Unless, let's see, we have our Brandon and Mandan back. Yes, they are. Okay, cool. Let me close rooms. Then let me add room. There we go. Now I can add rooms. Okay. Just adjusted the lighting. Okay. Okay. So someone else had an issue with stuff vanishing. If you want, we could just deal with it here, or we could do the breakout room thing again. What do you want to do, Nandan?
I'm fine with whatever.
Okay. Well then, let's see.
Yeah. So, what do you mean when you say vanishing?
So someone says they double clicked something and everything disappeared, not erased. I just can see it. How do I undo that? And I'm not really sure.
Yeah, so like I clicked something and it just disappeared. But when I go into game view, everything is still there.
Okay, so can you share your screen?
Yeah,
I'm doing it from my iPad, but I can flip my camera probably. Let me
Okay, I got it. You're doing Zoom with your iPad.
Yeah.
So while you do work that out, I do have a hunch.
So, like I can
Might be
click
where
on
you
everything.
are.
No, the objects are right where I am. It's just
So does it look something like this?
Hold on 1 second. Yeah, I just because I go into game view and it's right there.
Yeah.
But
so there's this layers drop down up here. It's if I have nothing clicked, or if I click nothing, then it all hides. If I click everything, then it shows up again. Could it be that?
Where? Layers?
Yeah, layers here, and then click on the eye next to everything.
No, it doesn't do anything.
Okay. Yeah, well, I can...
Zoomed out. Where? If you double click something in the scene, or press F, does it...
Oh, cool. Got it.
Oh, okay. So
probably
the camera,
very zoomed out.
Okay.
Yeah. Camera might have been off in space.
Cool. Thank you.
No problem.
Okay, let's see. So for the person who is out of the, or while y'all were in the breakout room, we went ahead and made a new material for the flipper. So to like, if you're in the scripts, in the scripts folder, you can still get to the rest of the folders here. So I just clicked on materials, and did create, and then material, and then I just made like a red, and then dragged it on the flippers, and then with the flipper selected, I gave it. I tweaked the transform, so then it would end up in this spot. So I'll give you a minute to get caught up there, and then we'll continue from there.
I think he's caught up.
So we will. So what we could do is, well, actually, before I jump too far ahead, let's go ahead and get the flipper script on there. Does the flipper have to be offset from the board to work? So when you say offset, you mean like kind of lifted off the board like that? I don't think so. The way we're gonna have it set up, it should be fine. But just to make it like, if you were to move the camera anywhere, it would look kind of weird if it was going through the floor. I don't think it's gonna, like, you could just do probably like that would also be fine too. I'll leave it at 0.9. Okay, so from here, we are going to need to do a couple of things. So first, we are going to need to give this flipper a rigid body, just like we did with the sphere. So with left flipper selected, on add component, and then, it's not showing up because it's blank, you just type rigid body, and then click, and you have a rigid body. Now, this is going to be a little bit different from before because we don't want this thing, like if I go ahead and play now, I think our flipper is going to fall off the board. Well, okay, it didn't. But with the rigid body, you'll want to check this is kinematic thing. And that way it won't fall, it won't behave like a normal object. It will just kind of hold still and let the code do things to it. So with that rigid body on there, then we can go down into our scripts folder here and then just drag and drop our script onto the into the object. And then this will be the script. Let's see. Did I set here? Okay. So under flip time, I've set it that to 15. I left flip angle the same. And then for button name, you want to put in fire 1. So with a capital F, just fire 1 is, and I'm going to, let's see if I play it now, and then click, oh, that's the wrong way. I think I want to do -60. There we go. So now if I'll pause for a second to let everyone get caught up after I test this. Now we should be able to, there we go. We have a ball. Okay, so where's everybody at then? We, like, to recap, we gave this thing a rigid body, we said it'd be kinematic, and then we dragged the flipper script onto it, and then made sure this was set up correctly. So I'll give everyone a minute to get caught up. Feel free to ask any questions.
So you drag the flipper script under
Yeah.
rigid body.
Yeah, the order doesn't matter. I can also put it up here.
Yeah, you won't let me do that.
Huh. If it, wait. It's a little finicky. Another thing you can do if this is just being flaky, you can also just drag and drop it onto Flipper over here, and it will. You can add it that way. I need to reset.
Yeah, it won't let me do that either.
Weird.
Maybe you can add component.
Yeah, you can also add component, and then just type in Flipper, and then add it that way.
Does it might be the Visual Studio thing? Do you think that's what it is?
I doubt it. If you click on console, like there's this project tab and then console tab. If you click on console, are there any errors that get listed?
There's no errors. It just won't let me.
Keeps bouncing off the floor and into space. Okay. If that's happening, you want to make sure is kinematic is checked. Let me see if I can reproduce it. If I uncheck it and then stuff it in the floor, I think it will fly off into space. Well, okay, it kind of bounced. But as long as it's set to kinematic, then you're good. Like I can, even if it's set like that. Yeah, if it's flying off in space, you probably need is kinematic turn on. Also, I'll say once this is set up, it will fire once corresponds to the left mouse button. I think it also is left control. Yes. So either left control or left mouse button. Either works.
So it's not letting you just add the script? Is it possible to somehow show that?
Yeah, if you want to share your screen, I can always stop sharing.
I think she's on her iPad, so.
Oh, wait, right.
Yeah. Okay. It's really hard. Wait, what is that notification there? I can't read that. Can you say what that says?
It says can't add script component bumper 1 because the script class cannot be found. Make sure that there are no compile errors and that the file name and class match.
Huh.
So it's called bumper?
Yeah, that's how it came up in my thing.
Bumper.
I think it's supposed to be called flipper.
Yeah, there is a
download and it came as bumper.
That's really weird. There is a bumper script. Okay, we'll try if you right click on it and do rename. Rename it to Flipper.
Maybe
with a capital F.
Capital F?
Or yeah, Flipper with a capital F. Fire 1 is not set up.
Did you type it like this? Wait.
Yeah, make sure it's spelled like how Nandan put it. It has to be capital F for fire.
Yeah.
And
no space. Exactly like that.
It's kind of touchy. If we have time and you're interested why or in exactly why it's like that, go through that later.
If you open that script on, you have something installed. Okay.
Yeah,
what is the name of the script? It says You should say it somewhere. Okay, I can't even see it.
It's called public class bumper.
Okay, so it's you download Bumper, I think. So,
Yeah, but yeah, I clicked on the link in the description or the chat that you gave.
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh,
there are
okay.
multiple scripts there. So there should be a Flipper script.
Yeah. Yeah, we're gonna need the bumper later, though I'm a little surprised that the bumper script isn't working. It,
But let's see if we can first get the Flipper downloaded.
yeah.
So if you can go to the link again.
Yeah. See bumper. Oh, I
And I
found it.
can. Okay.
There should be one that says flipper.cs. Let's see if that one works first, and then
Okay, hold on. I have to send it to my.
I didn't need to do this. Oops.
when you add it to something, does that work? Yeah, it does.
Okay, so is it working now?
Yeah.
So you got the Flipper script downloaded.
Yes, I got the flipper script one.
Okay, can you put that
All right, add it again.
on the left Flipper object?
Hmm?
Can you drag the Flipper script onto the left Flipper object?
No, I haven't added it in here yet. Hold on.
Oh, okay.
How do I do that again?
You drag it from wherever you downloaded it into the where you saved your flipper.cs script.
You have to find it. Hold on.
Okay. Then you just drag that into the project.
Got it.
Okay, can you come closer to the message so that I can fully read it? Okay, try drag. Oh, your computer just turned off.
Yeah, hold on. Yeah, that's class flipper, so it should. And then it
Okay.
tells me.
Can't add script component flipper one because the script class cannot. Okay, it has to be named flipper, not flipper
Yeah.
one. Oh, you might have to change the flipper name to.
I'll change it back, yeah. I'll change it back to bumper.
Because the name of the class has to match the script name for it to detect in the first place. I mean, that might still not solve the problem, but that's one of the things that we have to do to make sure it works in the first place.
I'm guessing what happened is you probably grabbed the bumper script and then
Yeah.
you renamed it to Flipper. But then when you went and grabbed the actual Flipper script, it couldn't be named Flipper anymore because you already had one. So it became Flipper 1. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I fixed it. It works now.
Oh, okay, cool.
Okay. Perfect. Yeah. So the one thing is when you guys download the files or whatever scripts you're creating, you'll eventually learn how to program, or maybe not. But if you do, the name of the script has to be the same as the name of the file inside, or the name of the class inside. But that's like more complicated. So it's just all you have to worry about is the naming convention is important for Unity to detect it.
Yeah, basically, if you have a script, you can't. It's not as simple as just renaming the file. You can change the name. You have to change something else too. So, generally, leave the name alone if you can.
So your script always has to be the same name as your class.
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's a programming thing, but yeah.
Yeah, it's this is a bit of a tangent. You can't have multiple classes in one script. Those don't have the same name, but you need to have at least one class with the right name. Otherwise, it cries. Anywho,
Yeah.
though,
Space. Okay, for Nathan. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
My left flipper does
Oh,
not
does it?
rotate around the cylinder. It rotates around its center.
Oh, I did not notice that. So, oh wait, okay, that's pretty easy. Let's see. So, I'm guessing you probably have. Is it something like this? Like that, maybe? Okay. Okay. So what you're gonna want to do, um, you should have like your left flipper object, and then cylinder and cube are children of left flipper. You'll want to make sure that cylinder is at position 000, and cube is at position 100. If you have them moved separately, then you will get, kind of wonky things. It's kind of neat, but like not what we want in this case. And then if you want to move the whole flipper setup, you want to make sure left flipper is selected, and then you can drag that around. Okay. Ooh, what about this other person?
Also, really good questions, guys. These are all things that we had to deal with probably when we started too.
Yeah, there's just a lot of little things that can go wrong, especially when you're working with 3D. Especially with all this parenting stuff and all that. I'm starting to see why they just did like the rollerball thing, but with their empty object was at 000. But yeah,
That's why I think like if we started like no.
I broke it. Okay, I'm gonna stop playing right now. Okay. So what were you saying, Nandan? Okay. Well, so we have one flipper. Now we can go ahead and make our other flipper, and then we'll have both flippers active at long last. I know. I'm sorry. It feels like we are approaching the end. So, thank you all for sticking with us. Oh shoot. Sorry. Okay, so again in the assets folder, we're going to want to make one more folder, and we will call this prefabs. And then once we have prefabs, once we go into the prefabs folder, we are going to drag, or we're going to want to take left flipper and just drag it into there. and we'll get this new object called left flipper, and then, or we'll get what's called a prefab, which is essentially just like like we've had all this stuff with game object in components and stuff. This is like a collection of game objects, but in a file. So now, like if I drag this into the scene, well, for one thing, it's not oriented correctly. Let me drag this. I'm going to take this and then drag it into level, or drag it into flippers. And, oh, well, put it there. Well, now we have a second flipper. So like if I just play this, now we have two. But what we want then is we want to take this and turn it into our right flipper.
If you play like the Windows version of Pinball, I think they have two flippers on the left and two flippers on the right.
Yeah, so we can do that.
Yeah, so we can technically do it.
Yeah. So, but for now, we'll just do one left and one right. So I'll name this right flipper. And so what we'll want to do, actually, I should not have moved it away. So I'm going to undo here. And I'm going to name this, or name this right flipper. And then negate this, so it's 2.5 instead. And then I think this is like 160. Yeah, 160. That will mirror it. And then we want to tweak this to be 60. This will become fire 2. And with all that, if I did it right, there we go. So now it's left and right click that are doing this. Control and Alt. But okay, sorry, I did move a little fast there. Now we have, what you want to do is after you've made your prefab, drag it in, attach it to this flippers object. Then you'll want to set it up as such, and you'll get two flippers instead. So I'm going to pause and let people catch up and ask questions.
Or an alternative way of doing this is just duplicating the left flipper.
Yeah, that would actually probably have been easier. I probably shouldn't have worried about the prefab thing. We're going to need the prefab thing in a minute, but yeah, that was a little more convoluted. Sorry for the extra complexity.
Yeah, so where are you guys at? Is this making sense, or?
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? Awesome. We have one person who found it, managed to get order.
Look at you guys, already learning, improving.
Let's see. Got my first flipper working correctly, but the whole second flipper curves across the entire floor.
It's probably not centered somehow.
Either not centered or curves across the entire floor. Oh, so like this maybe? like that. Ah, shoot. Okay. So to fix that, you want to select the right, open the drop down for the right flipper, and then make sure that the cylinder position is 0, 0, 0, and then the cube position is 1, 0, 0. And that will put it lined up with this. And then to get this in position, you want to mess with this and not with these two.
Yeah, basically, where these things are determine how they rotate and how they scale, and essentially, or not how they scale, but how they rotate mainly.
I mean, I could scale it too. I could like make it really, really, really wide.
No, yeah. I'm not saying that you can't scale it, but oh god, what am I looking at?
Doesn't even work right anymore.
Yeah, so you can do weird things like that. That's the fun thing about game dev. You can just go crazy.
Super long.
Extremely long flipper. Will it move the other? No. Oh my god.
I can't lose.
The unstoppable pinball. Wait, I think you can actually destroy yourself by accidentally making it go down the right tunnel.
Oh, you mean while it was really long?
Oh my god.
All right. Let's see. Are you good? Are we all good then? Or is the problem right flipper works great, but my left flipper won't bounce the ball?
By bounce the ball, what do you mean?
Does the ball roll past it? Like, say, if I move this up out of the way, does it like do that? Are we seeing something like that, or does the ball get stuck? Ball goes through. I'm not sure. Yeah, let me stop sharing. Well, first off, yeah, I'll just stop sharing. And then you can just share. This will probably be faster. So. Well, at least it will be, realize doing this might be.
Ooh, interesting.
Oh, looks snazzy. Huh.
Okay.
Interesting.
Something strange.
Oh,
Is it too high?
I think I know what the problem is. So, oops. So on the, for collision detection on the rigid body, set that to, I think you have to do continuous speculative. I think that's the only way it will work. But this is because normally, like Unity, if something's moving too fast, they can phase through. And so all this stuff, shoot. Wow.
Should be continuous. Just.
I don't know what's wrong there. That's really weird.
Can you rotate the camera so we can see it like how we see it when Daniel's doing it? No. Not the actual camera, but in the scene view. Yeah, rotate it so it's like flat, like how no.
Yeah. Okay. So it is low enough, and so the right flipper works, doesn't it? Okay, so that's fine. It's not fine. The ball is gone.
Yeah, there'll be.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just weird. Maybe if I slow it down, it won't go fast enough.
Yeah, try doing. I think lower numbers are slower. Let me check. I just wrote this. I should know. Yeah, okay, so a low number is very slow.
I don't know. This is just something I'll have to just fiddle with and find something that works.
Yep. That's usually how Unity works.
Yep.
Or any program, for that matter. It's like messing around with things. It's saying sometimes it's something super obvious that you don't see right away, and then it's like, oh wait, that should have been this. Then
Yeah. Now, one thing I will say for your setup, you might want to make the little flipper handles a little longer because otherwise, right now you have a big area that they can just pass right through. But that's up to you.
I would make them shorter, just for the challenge.
Make people cry, make them suffer. Okay, actually let me fix this. All right, well, we are like on the home stretch then. The next thing to do is create the bumpers that will bounce the ball around. So we are going to want to go ahead and download our bumper script, which I think I already did this, but I'll do it again. So you download, you put it somewhere, which I already did. Then you can go into your scripts folder and just drag and drop this in.
You might as well just do that with the Killzone one too, right?
Yeah. While we're at it, we can do that with Killzone. So I'll go ahead and do that. We will need this very soon anyway. There we go. The Killzone. So with all that imported, we are going to make yet another empty object and name this bumpers. Extra rigid body that was making my left pedal weird. Good to know. I didn't know that could cause problems. So with our bumpers object, what we are going to do is right click on that and then create a sphere. Or not a sphere, a capsule. And the setup on this is going to be a little weird. Let's see, I think I made this more convoluted than I needed to here, which you can avoid doing. No, I did need to do some of this. Okay, we'll just do it like this. So what we're gonna want to first do is, let's see. We will want to name this thing bumper because that's what it is, it's bumper. And then we will want to, we don't need to add a rigid body to this. What we will want to do just to make sure it behaves consistently. Because right now we want it to look kind of like this, so that it's got this round surface just poking out. But we don't want the ball to like possibly roll up the surface here. We want to have it essentially just be like a very tall cylinder. So I'm going to make this height something large, like 5, or 5 is fine. So then we'll get this, because what I'm messing with here on the capsule collider, when I'm messing with this height, is I'm making it just very, essentially it's just more like a pole instead of just a little bump. And then we'll want to create an empty. So right click on bumper, create empty. And then this, we will want to set y equal to 1. And I will explain why we're doing this later, or in a second. So with that there, we are then going to want to take our bumper script out of our scripts folder and then just attach it to the object. That was a long pause. It didn't do it. Well, this is why you can also do this. If that didn't work for you, like it didn't work for me, you can just add it. Just do add component and then type bumper and throw it in. And then here, there's one thing we will want to set up. There's this thing that says bump source. You will want to drag that and stick it onto, drop it into there. This is for setup. I've tried doing it without this, and it was being a pain. So eventually having that made it work right. Let's see, what did I set as a good bump source? Okay, so we'll try 15. And then I want to hit the thing. Let me just drag this so the ball will hit it. There we go. So that is a very simple bumper. These flippers are a little bit too strong, I think, right now. We can tune that later. But yeah, so now we have a simple bumper. If we want to, I'm going to go ahead and give this thing a material too, because we're going to have 2 kinds of bumpers. We'll have a bumper that stays around forever, and then a bumper that goes away when you touch it. So that will be this. So we will do material. We'll call this bumper. And I'm going to do something a little different. Before we did metallic and click the little button there, this time I'll click the little button next to albedo and then give it a checkerboard pattern. And then change this to like green. Oh, and I do need to drag it on. That's why I wasn't seeing the change. Okay, so you get this kind of like nice little colorful lump thing. Okay, how's everyone doing? Does your bumper bump things, and are we good with the materials? This is a case where we are going to have, with the 2 kinds of bumpers, we do want this to look different from the other kind. So we do want to have this one looking green, or at least a color, and then we can change how the other one looks. So how's everyone doing? All right, cool. Oh, great.
It's looking like a real game.
Pretty much. So, I mean, we could do the prefab thing, but just in the interest of time and keeping things simple, we're not going to worry about that for now. So, like, if now we can, you know, add in more bumpers. So, like, if you want to select the bumper and then do Control D, then we can move this new one and then do Control D again, and then, you know, make a bunch of bumpers. Oh, shoot. And, you know, exactly where we put this is entirely optional, or not optional. It's entirely up to you where you want to put it. I expect this will probably be kind of chaotic. This isn't necessarily ideal placement. But yeah, we have bumper things now. And that happened. So that is the next thing we're going to fix, because I also made it so that the bumpers can, you can have bumpers that vanish after they're hit once. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a bumper, I'm going to duplicate it, so Control D again, and I'll just move it over here. And first off, we're going to want to make a new material to make this look different. So I will click on my bumper material, and I'll Control D to duplicate. I'll name this bumper one shot. And then I will color this like yellow. Just be a nice yellow. I can drag that in. Okay. So now we have a yellow bumper instead of a green bumper. And then the main difference from this bumper to those bumpers is that we want to check this remove on bump. And then when the ball hits it, it will bounce the ball away, and then the bumper is going to vanish. So this way, this is like a, you know, if you've seen in some pinball games where they have, it's kind of like a mercy mechanic where, you know, these like gutters that, you know, they have blocks on them so that you don't have your ball just falling in there right away. So how's everyone doing then? I will try to, well, actually, before I pause, I'm going to go ahead and duplicate this a little more and get it, you know, put one here, duplicate that, and then put another down here. So then, you know, if something falls into here, then it will get bounced back up one time. And then after that, oh, it's not on the camera. I'm going to yoink that up a little bit so it's visible. There we go. Not everything is going to be exactly lined up, but there we go. So that got, well, that was, well, it worked though.
That's a depressing setup.
It is. I'm going to set these a little bit lower. There we go. Now I don't just get ruined. Yes, one thing that the ball is doing is sticking a little bit. If people are interested and we have time, we can also, I know a way to fix that and make it bounce a little better, but yeah, we can fix that later. Okay. All right, where's everybody at? Weak bumpers in the wall. Yeah, we could do that. There's another thing you can do though, where you can have like physics materials. And so I gave in my version, I made the walls have a very bouncy material. So then when the ball hits it, it just bounces. Like it doesn't get thrown away, but my bumpers keep bumping my pinball out of the area.
Probably the bump force, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, is it bumping it? Is it doing here? Wait, let me try something. Is it doing something like this? Is that what's happening? Yes, maybe not quite as extreme, but that's what this this game object inside the like this bump source object. I just realized it's bump source and bump force. I hope my microphone is picking up the difference. The bump source needs to be like about level with the ball, so that when it bumps it, it's going to push it off relative to this. I tried several things with like trying to make it so that it was a little smarter about it, so that when it bump it, it just push it away. But it was just misbehaving like crazy. So I eventually just went with this. So just make sure that like the bumpers themselves should be at Y0, and then the position of the bump source game object should be Y at 1. That way, like I could make it way higher, and I think it's just gonna like push it down. Yeah, it doesn't do as much then. Yes, if I will look at it a bit some more and see if I can come up with something a little nicer, and then so it's possible like when this gets to YouTube, then there may not be any bump source at all. It might just figure it out, and then it'll be less to worry about. So we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so now there's we have our configuration of bumpers, and it's pretty much all perfect at this point. The one last thing we need to do is if the ball falls out of the level, then it's just going to sit there forever. We're going to make it so that it will, so when the ball falls, it will restart the level, so that you can just, like there's, in a normal pinball game, you'd have lives and things, but we're just going to, for now, make it restart in interest of time. So we're going to just click outside of our level, so we aren't even going to make this a child of the level. I'm going to create a 3D object, so the cube. I don't know why it's all the way up there, but it did it there. Maybe 0, 0, 0, 0. All right, what I will do is drag this down. So like I think minus 10 is what I used. And then I'm going to scale this thing way up. And I'm going to drag it. This will be like 100 and then 100. Just something very big. I mean, there's other ways to do this. This is the quick and dirty way. So what we will do is a couple of things. First, we want to set the box collider to be a trigger. So that instead of being a solid object, this is just something that the ball can pass through. So I'll check that. We also do not want this box to show up. So I'm going to disable the mesh renderer. So now we just have this green area that if the ball passes through, it can make something happen. So then we want to go to add component and add our kill zone. So this is the third script. And so all this will do is say, when the ball passes through me, I'm going to just restart the level. And let me name this kill zone. And let me just run this to make sure it all works, and then I will stop and see where everybody is at. Boink. That is probably a little bit, needs to be a little more narrow. Okay, so now it restarted and we see the bumper came back. Okay. Does the kill zone work for everybody? Or like when you get there anyway, if you're still setting it up? Alternatively, like if you wanted to streamline this a little more, you could put it, closer down there and then have it so it restarts sooner. Like we saw the one person when he was sharing his screen, he had like I saw he had the rail off to the right edge, and that was, I assumed he was going to set it up so that like it would shoot the ball up. But like there's a lot of ways to expand this. This is meant to just be like a little thing. So yeah, let me know where y'all are at and when you're good, or if you have questions. I guess while you guys are doing that, I'm going to mess with this a little more. Try to make it a little more interesting. And again, also, it would help a bit to have some kind of scoring system, which initially I was thinking that we were going to do write out all the code. I did not want to bore you all with, with all the code related to that too. So I did not bother with it. But let's see. Kill zone as a plane, but it doesn't seem to work. So instead of using a cube, you used a plane. So like, I assume this thing, this one, right? 3D object plane. Is that what you used in your case? Are you saying? Because I'm not sure that's gonna work. I don't know. I haven't tried it. What might be happening if you do that, it might pass through the object and then might not cause the trigger to occur. I don't know.
Or is your code just using I don't know what your code says, so I can't really say.
Well, I can pull it up. All the code, it's just on trigger enter, so it just needs to be.
Oh, okay, then it's not even that.
So if you're using a plane instead of a cube, you might need to set this convex thing, and then you can do this trigger. Like that's the main thing, is it needs to be a trigger, not a physical collision object. Though you could just change the script. It wouldn't be hard to change the script so that it was when it collided instead of trigger.
Generally, we just do everything with cubes rather than planes.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of funny from below. But yeah, like I'm gonna try having a second flipper now. So like, I'll take my left flipper, I'll duplicate it, and then I'll like yoink it up here. Maybe instead of this, I'll drop this here. And I'll try to make it a little bit asymmetric so that maybe like, let's see. I'll duplicate this and then duplicate it again. I'll like rotate it around. So it's sort of like a gutter, or like a thing the ball can swoop around.
Very easy.
not that nice because it's not a curve. Let's see. Okay, convex fixed it. That's good. So one thing also I will say, the whole thing with the bumper script, you can attach this to any object. Oh wait, except no. Okay, when I make the revised version of the script, you'll be able to attach it to any object because you won't need this silly bump source once it's working better. Until then, though, it will be a little harder to set it up to work in any situation, but it will get there eventually. Can you attach it to the ball? I don't think it will bump itself. Because the bump script, it checks when something bumps the object and then pushes that away. But I don't think it will work in the other way around. I guess I'll go ahead and show that. Assuming, let's see, I think before we're getting the kill zone set up. I'll go ahead and show that. So we have our ball. I should rename this ball because that's what it is. I'm gonna go ahead and make another folder. Actually, you know, screw the folder. We don't even need that in this case because there's only one of these that we're gonna make. So yeah, if you had two balls, which I mean, I could totally do. You can just duplicate your ball, and then you could put a bumper on your ball, and then make them bounce each other around. Yeah. Although with two balls, you're gonna lose as soon as one of them falls, which, sure. But what I'm gonna do, sorry.
It's part of the challenge.
Yes. Let's see. I'm gonna right-click, do create, and then where is it? Physics material. A physic material. I think that's a typo. We'll call this ball. And let me see what I did. 0.5.5.7. Okay, so we're gonna do 0.7 in here, and I forget if these are necessary. But so again, I did right-click, create, and then physics material, and then 0.5, 0.5, 0.7. And you can like totally tweak these, see what works. And I'm
literally
going to
put friction at 0.
Well, when I did that, it started to seem to behave a little oddly, like it wasn't rolling in ways you'd expect it to, and things like that. So, or like it didn't look like it was rolling right. I don't think the friction really matters too much because it's a rolling object. But yeah, you can feel free to tinker with these. I'm also going to pick maximum so that it's always this bouncy. Okay. Now, with my ball, once you have this material made, you can go over to the sphere collider in the ball object and just drag in your material. And with this, the ball should bounce better off of walls and things, like it was bouncing off the floor there. Oh. Right. It is far more bouncy than it was before, which is
Great.
not quite what we want. So to fix that, and this is one thing which I skipped originally, I'm going to take my floor, I'm going to duplicate it, I'm going to drag it up like that. So it's like covering. And then I disable the mesh render. So this way there's a surface covering over the, although the ball is going to need to be lowered. This way there's a surface over, like kind of like your glass pane that would cover up the, I'll set this to like 1.75. Okay, so now this object is kind of like the this overlay object, sort of like a glass pane that covers it. So now it will not fly off into space, even though it was very bouncy now. It is maybe too bouncy. Yeah, it's pinball thing. Okay, so, where's everybody at though? I've been like here tinkering around with trying to make it feel nice. And I have not been checking it, so. How's it going, y'all? Good, bad? Are we in orbit yet? Or because essentially this is essentially everything now, like at this point.
Little did you guys know, I'm a pro pinball player.
Whoa.
I've reached the pinball championships.
Did you win?
Happens every October.
Oh, wow. Wait, at first I thought you were joking, and it's like, wait a second. Oh, shoot.
I am joking.
Ah, darn it. You had me. Yeah, now the ball is a little bit too bouncy. I think I'm going to turn this down to like 4, maybe. See what happens.
Basically, making a game is like this. You have a bunch of ideas in your head. You start throwing them into what do you call
Blender?
whatever, some engine with your trying to materialize them as best as possible. There's unexpected errors. There's a lot of tweaking, but eventually you come up with something you like.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why like I've intentionally like left, I've been showing you a little bit of just like you can do a fair amount with it, even just with these little things that we haven't seen. You can kind of expand it, and like this is a very different layout from what I have over in my when I was first experimenting and putting this together. So yeah, I hope this has been interesting so far, even when it's dragged a little bit in terms of the initial setup.
There is a question.
Okay, I'm still having some trouble with my bumpers. Where should I position my bump source? So, and this is where I probably should have made it a prefab, so this was easier to configure. The bump source should be at exactly positioned at 0, 1, 0. So 1Y above the surface, and then the bumper itself is at Y0. You can move it around anywhere else, but Y has to be 0. The main reason then is that the ball, it's like about level with the ball center, and then, wait, is it? Actually, hang on, is it? Oh, wait. Am I done?
The ball falls though when you start the level.
Yeah, it does. I'm just like trying to think. Did I? Ah, okay. If you're having issues, set the height to set that Y to be 0.5 and not 1. That might help. Like the problem is not so much like the ball. Oh wait, the bumper. Well, yeah, the bumpers. The problem is just that I think when the ball hits the bumper, it kind of is shooting it away in the wrong direction or something, if I understand correctly. And that would also be why like was flying into space for me. Oh, and tweaking that probably made. Let's see. Let me. Okay, these all need to be changed. I'm gonna set all these to 0.5 and see how it. Okay, well, it does seem like it's pushing it harder now. So if you do that, if you do set it to 0.5, you're probably going to need to set the bump force lower so it's not ejecting it to space every single time.
Any other questions?
Yeah, does that, well, yeah, any other questions? And also does it, is it any better with it at 0.5 instead of 1? All right, awesome. Okay, so one last thing then, and this isn't so much just like this is, I did say at the beginning the whole thing about like building it to putting it on itch.io so that you could share it with people. And this is something that will be helpful probably, even if you don't do it for this, it's probably good to know the general how it works in the future. So like if I, let's not even worry about itch.io at this point. Let's just build it for for standalone, I think. We have like, we've been going since, let's see, it's been like, has it really been 3 hours? Wait.
3.5, I think.
Wow, okay. Yeah, I was not expecting this to take as long as it did, but I don't know. There's been a lot of just going through, setting things up and whatnot. So I don't know. It's fine. I think that hopefully this is it's hopefully it hasn't been a draggy or boring 3 hours. But so if we want to take this game and then turn it into some, like right now, if you wanted to have someone else play this game, okay, that's good. That's good to hear. Thank you. If you want to have, say if you want to send this game off to your friend, what you can do is go to File and then Build Settings. And so the two things you could either, like if you want to just build it as an executable that you can run, double click and run, you can click this build button. Oh, actually, hang on. First thing you do have to do is click this add open scenes thing. And then that way it will include the level we've been building. And once you have that up here, then clicking build it'll ask you where you want to put it. I'm just going to make a folder called builds and then just save it there. And so this will then compile a game out and make, in my case, an executable or a .exe If you're on Mac, you can have it make a Mac app instead, or even on Linux, you can tell it to make a Linux app. And then once this is done, it will be a. There we go. It came up with this. So if I double click this, we get our game in a standalone executable thing. And so then you can take this, the folder it generated, put it in a zip, and then you can share that with people. You can host it online and stuff. Right. We didn't give it the ability to. There's no exit feature, so you just need Alt Tab out and exit that way. But yeah, so that's how you can.
Oh,
file it
but
out.
one thing, if you, at least for Windows, you can't just share the exe. You need like data with it. Yeah.
Yeah, all this. Yeah, what I did when I put it in builds, it built or created all this stuff. So if you wanted to share this with someone, you'd probably want to, like, I'll put it in a folder. It's like, take all this stuff and throw it in there. On Windows, it's going to do this. On Mac, it creates an actual app that you can just run, or like that you can double click and run. And so that's already all self-contained. I don't know what it does on Linux. I've never actually tried it there. But then, like, I could take this and make a zip, and then I could share it that way. The other way, and I'm not going to explain this right now, but with, like, if you want to look into this or try doing this, you can also, if you did install WebGL when we were first setting up Unity, you can pick this and do switch platform, and it will go over to WebGL. And then when you build it here, instead of getting a .exe or a Mac app, you'll get an HTML file, and you can zip that up and send it to like a website or to itch.io, and then you will get a web app, and then you can share it with people without them even having to download your game, which is really cool.
Or there's a third way, and that is you do the first way, but then you use like some installer file. There's like it's kind of complicated, but basically what happens is it creates an installer program. So then your friends could literally install it, and then it'll be like installing any other program. So if they have like it's not just through Unity. You have to have like a separate program to do that.
Okay.
Yeah, but that's how if you're doing like a professional release in the future. I'm just like throwing this out there. Like 10 years in the future or something, you're releasing your game. You're not gonna give everyone a zip file. Obviously, you're gonna have an installing link, right?
Yes.
So that link will have an installer that downloads the whole thing. And the data, that's actually what happens. Like there's a data folder, but it's not saved with the application shortcut. It's usually saved like in your C drive somewhere.
Yeah.
So usually your shortcut is just leading to that.
Yeah. Or in fifth way, just like, I don't know, somehow like just get on Steam and then do it there.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that works too.
Sixth way, sign a deal with Epic and have them, put it on their store.
Or Nintendo Switch or like Sony or any of the companies.
Yeah, that is a good, interesting point there. Unity can build, like they even have it listed Xbox One in here. The Unity can build the most consoles. However, you usually need to get like the dev kit from the console owner before you can do that. So, and Unreal's the same way. You can build games with Unreal that run on consoles, but that's only really relevant if you're either, you have an indie game you're working on that you're going to sell, or you work in a studio and they are, now they're building it for consoles. For us, I mean, yeah, that's extra. If we could even do it, that's a lot of extra work to do. But yeah, I guess that's unless anyone has any last questions or anything, I guess that's it for the workshop pretty much then.
I mean, if you're a game developer, there's infinite potential. Like you could literally, you don't even have to use Unity. You could build your own engine. You could make your game using that built engine, and then export whatever you need to.
Yeah.
And I tried to build my own engine, and I kind of midway succeeded, but I didn't make a product with it because it's a really bad engine.
I see.
So it's like it's there's a lot of stuff out there.
Yeah, that is the thing. The amount of stuff that we've managed to do has been in almost no, like we had to do almost no code, but there are like thousands of lines of code running within Unity just to do our simple little pinball game. And so if you do it from scratch, you do have total control over what you're running, and you can do, if you know how, you can do it. It's just you have to do it all yourself.
Yeah, I mean,
Okay, thank you for coming. Let's see. Yeah, I think after this finishes building, then I think I'm gonna wrap it up and close the Zoom thing, because we're only go until 7, so I don't know if, unless anyone really wants to do like a last minute.
I did want to add one last thing.
Yeah.
All of you guys that were overwhelmed today, all of you people that thought this was a lot of stuff or were behind, or even if you didn't think it was that bad, but you still think it's like a lot of stuff, it gets easier for sure. Like all of this could probably be made like in less than 3 hours for sure.
Yeah.
It's just,
Yeah, but
I mean, obviously concepting the idea and doing all of that, probably not, but and thinking of like the script and writing all that, it probably might take longer, but the whole point is game dev, like it gets, like once you learn, it gets like easier in the sense that things that you've done, you'll start getting used to. Like you don't have to worry about Unity itself. You only have to worry about the game that you're making.
yeah. Yeah, and you guys, yeah, I mean, I do want to, give you guys a round of applause. I guess that makes sense for just like sticking through with it this far. I know it's like, especially whenever I'm like well, especially the first time I was going through a lot of stuff, it was just like I'd sit through it and be like, not sure what was going on, or like how to move forward or do much. So if like even if you don't like would just want to do this more as like a hobby, like it gets more interesting and definitely a lot more fun as you get farther into it. So I want to congratulate you all, and if this is your first step on getting this far, and I hope that this has been informative and useful. You're welcome. Okay, well, we're just gonna. I think I'm going to stop recording. It's already.
If you guys have any other questions, just leave them in the Discord or just contact us any way you want, but